All right, collective, happy new moon. I'm back because I discovered that the last live, when I started moving around the house and when I went outside, that you all could not hear me. And so that is definitely one of the down drops to doing lives, because you can't test the acoustics. Okay, you can't test it. You only know afterward. Okay, so I did that on purpose. I decided, I was like, now let me go back and see if it's processed so that I can look at the acoustics, so I can see if you all were able to hear me. So unfortunately, you all only maybe heard maybe the first 10 minutes, if that, of a 30-minute discussion on titles and labels and things of that nature. And so I cut off the device and decided, okay, well, do this old school, bitch. So I was trying to minimize unnecessary, background distractive noise. I really wanted you all to be able to engage and hear and all of that. And so, unfortunately, it didn't work out. I don't know why. I'm going to have to look into the settings to see how come that particular Bluetooth device is not working when I'm recording on TikTok. Okay, I'll have to look into that later. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have that same discussion. And it's not going to be verbatim, of course, because I do things unscripted. But it will hit, the same basic topics. And so I was inviting you all to pose a question of what quantifies all these labels that we're all using. What makes someone a divine? What quantifies godly? I'm just throwing all these titles out there. Whatever the labels and the titles that we're using when it comes to trying to identify ourselves or someone identifying themselves as something of God, something of light. I said some disclaimers about I'm not disillusioned. We're not perfect. Divine ones aren't perfect. It's about the ascension into this higher heart energy. I talked about what quantifies a divine, right? To me, my opinion of it, how I view it. And then I posed some questions. I talked about addicts. I talked about how I grew up around addicts. Later in life to only date addicts. And there are some common themes that they all shared. Okay? So I was using this not in judgment and observation to why do we hear people say stuff, I'm different, I'm changed. What quantifies that? Is it because they're no longer outwardly participating in some of the things that they once upon a time outwardly participated in? But do they still operate from the same base frequencies, which is based in the lower chakras, the primitive nature, the reptilian mind? Does this person still operate in deception? Are they still manipulative? Are they still sneaky? Are they still backbiting? Are they still gossipy? Because if all of that is the same frequency, no amount of rules and regulations, do's and don'ts, and changing of the external things matter. So they're not on drugs and alcohol anymore. That's just an example. But are they still fucked up? Growing up around addicts, later to date addicts, I discovered that they share a common thread. Charismatic, convincing. I've seen them on their crashes. I've seen them on their binges. I've seen them in so-called reform. I've also seen that the core oh shit. Sorry about that. That's not the kind of sensitivity that I'm talking about, right? Everybody, is trendy. I'm sensitive. I'm such a sensitive. Okay, fair then. Okay, so what does that look like then? Let's talk about it. Let's go there. What does that look like? in terms of somebody's behavior and conduct outside of walking around with the shoulders slumped over, talking softly, fake crying, fake learned empathy. Outside of that, what does it actually look like? So a sensitive, since everybody want to claim that too. I'm so sensitive. Okay, well, if you're that in its high vibrational sense, if we're that in a high vibrational sense, then it is not in us to willfully participate in fuck shit. Then, if we so sensitive, right? We have to start looking at these things. What quantifies these labels? Because any and every one of us could subscribe to a label. Nobody could stop us. I'm divine, on top of the line, LLC. But it doesn't mean it's true, indeed. It's about our frequency. It's about our intentions and motivations to all levels and degrees. Okay, here I go. I'm just saying. You see the contradictions, the oxymorons, the hypocrisy, the double standards. Right? I'm divine. Are you? Are we? Because I think killing people would mean implanting people's harm would kind of take you out of the category bunch. I think stealing people's homes and inheritances would take you out of the bunch, dear. Gaslighting and trying to cover up crimes would kind of take you out of the bunch. See, we got to look at, what are we calling that? Is it because somebody can talk the talk? See, one of the things you guys are going to learn how to evaluate is external versus internal. Okay? Someone don't do drugs and alcohol no more, but does it necessarily automatically mean that they're not fucked up anymore? Or does it mean that they become a cleaner version of being fucked up? They're just a well-dressed version of it now. They're just not on the street corner anymore. They're just not, you see what I'm saying, doing those external things that equated them to that lifestyle. But if they're still highly manipulative, which most of them are, if that's still who they are, then there's nothing divine about them. They can go to church to all the services, bitch, but it doesn't change anything. If they're plotting with dark witches and warlocks and they themselves are dark witches and warlocks in secret, so then what makes them divine at all? What's divine about them? Because they put it on social media? But when they're in the dark, at home, amongst one another, that's equally low vibing, plotting. So then what makes them divine at all? What makes them God-fearing? What makes them a good man? What makes them a good woman? What makes them someone with a good heart? See, you, we, me, I, we don't get to see what people do behind the scene. This is why you need to train. You don't see. Now, high priestess do? Yeah. But yeah. But see, we're talking about in the 3D now. We don't get to see as they're trying to summon up an entity, right? To come for you, and it's coming back for them, but that's another video. We don't get to see them having their discussions amongst each other, plotting their wicked ways, trying to figure out how can we keep this dark secret alive. But these are the people that want to be labeled and titled and called a good man, a good woman. They got a good heart. You don't have a good heart if you're a part of fuck shit. You don't have a good heart if you're willing to do anything you want to do in selfishness, no matter how wrong it is. No, you don't. You don't. You're selfish. Low vibrational. Primitive. Entitled. What quantifies a divine? Ask yourself, and then look at your own behavior too. It starts with us first, right? This is the process of ascension. This is why a divine masculine is a divine masculine, a divine feminine is a divine feminine. The willful choice to ascend and work through the fuck shit. That's what makes the difference. Now I'm going to veer off topic a little bit and talk about twin flames because it's been coming up a lot in social media. And I understand the journey. I've done research on the journey. I have my own take on this. There's some things, information out there that I don't necessarily agree with. Okay? And I've always posed the question of what was this stuff like before we had access to this vast information? I always do that. So I want to say, and I know I have said this to the collective over the years, one of the things that have gotten me out of confusion, gotten me out of scratching my head, gotten me out of all of that, that happens because we're in the information age and the age of social media. So there's just so much. There's so much. What has always helped me and continues to help me is what I'm about to say. It's a choice in this 3D. Any and everything. Love should be a choice. It's a choice. Our partnerships, okay? And that at the end of the day, no matter what we're titling things, I don't care if this is a high level soulmate, this is the 12th level of the twin ray and the violet flame, but like, I don't care. At the end of the day, it comes down to this. I don't hold the subscription that we are not complete. I feel like that's mental illness. I feel like that's a part of what's creating illusion and confusion and causing people to be driven into codependency. But at the end of the day, if we are not healing and transforming, I don't care who they are, we are, what label, what title, then this is not something you're to be continuing to entertain because it is unhealthy. Period. If something is rooted in toxicity and abusive, stagnant, you're not to be, it's called trauma bonding. It's trauma bond. And for some of us, a trauma bond from another life. And the point, we're supposed to work through it. Yes. So it's not just about throwing weight around and throwing titles around. It's like, I am, and so what? Because if you don't choose to heal and transform, you're nothing. It means absolutely nothing. Putting the label on an LLC doesn't mean that it's inside of you. What quantifies, what makes someone a good man, a good woman? Because these are terms we hear. I'm a good man, I'm a good woman. They're a good man, they're a good woman. I have a good heart, they have a good heart. They're God-fearing, they're divine. Like, these are all terms people use to imply they're good, but are they? At night, what do they do at night? What do they do to innocent lives? What are they plotting? What are they planning? What are they scheming? And they think because it's inside of their four walls or in their weird nigga bitch group that no one will ever know the otherwise. Are we equating all these labels to because somebody, like I said, they can talk sweet, they can talk nice, they can say all of the right words, they can put a lot of money in a tithing bucket, you know what I'm saying? They know how to, you know, y'all got to remember the nature. Those of you who have dealt with addicts or grew up around that, you know what I'm talking about. Are they not convincing? Wasn't that kind of always at the core of who they were? Huh? Were they not charismatic from what you can recall? Most of them are, if we think about it. In other words, they were people, you know, they knew how to, you know, rub shoulders. They know how to look like a counselor. Right? Does it mean there's any integrity there? Not necessarily. Does it mean it's coming from a good space in the heart and motivation? Not necessarily. See, we got to get past the titles, the labels. I'm inviting you all to challenge yourself in this way as you're transforming your life and moving forward with this new moon energy. Are they a good person if they do things under the moon, every moon cycle? So then why are we calling them a good person? Why are we saying they have a good heart and they routinely do fucked up shit? Every single day. Every single day. They're doing something fucked up to people. So they're planning to keep people locked up or get people locked up wrongfully so they can steal. So why are we calling them good people? They're trying to get people beat up and incapacitated so that they can't tell their secrets. So then why would we call these individuals good people? Because they're at Sunday service every Sunday? They go to all the services on Sunday because why? Why are we calling them that? Because they're the deacon? They open prayer meeting? Why? They do intercessory prayer? You intercessing? Huh? They're intercessing? They do an intercessory? But then a part of plans and fuckery? Let's make that make sense. They're aiding and abetting, but they are at the prayer meeting, they open the church doors. They're at the Sage Bundles, you know, Reiki Center. What qualifies a good person? A good heart? Most of these people aren't heart activated. That's the point that I'm making. They're ruled and governed by the lower frequencies, and left to its own devices is wicked. It's primitive. This is why these types have a tendency to be overly attached to the material realm and willing to do any and everything to have their wishes fulfilled, including murder, attempted murder, assault and battery, theft, dark magic, identity fraud, forging signatures, fake notaries, interfering with will and testament for their own personal gain. These individuals aren't anything pure. What qualifies a good person? A divine, God-fearing, whatever language we're comfortable with using. Everybody has different verbiage and adjectives, but at the end of the day, why would you call them that? Is it because they make cupcakes? They're at the church dinner? They're at all the funerals and weddings? Is that why you think they're a good person? They know how to wear up shoulders. They know how to ass kiss. What makes them a good person? Because they cry, they've learned fake empathy to show you while they still secretly plot wicked things. So then what makes them a good person then? Bullying people behind the scene because they don't want things to be made right. Then how the hell are we calling them anything good? Is it because they go to the altar call? What? Why are we equating that? What is it? They go to the prayer meeting, they go to the Reiki circle. Like I said, they donate to Make-A-Wish Foundation. What? They go clean people's houses. Is this why we're calling people good? But meanwhile, those same people plot wickedness. So then what makes them a good person? I know of people, even people that I grew up with, that watched me grow up to a degree. They watched me grow up to a degree till after my grandmother passed. I was 13 years old. But they erroneously think that there's some in my bloodline that are actually good. And it's based on all that I'm sharing with you because of this. These externals. They work a job. So that means they're a good person because they work a job. Does that automatically mean they're a good person because they work a job? Does it automatically mean that they have a good heart and good intentions because they work a job? But secretly plot. I'm getting people to a place of realizing that there's more to things than meets the eye, whether they want to know it and believe it or not. There are people as I speak that are plotting against me. And it's not paranoia. It's a fact. And I know it. And I know who they are. But in the external, they look like, I'm a good woman. I'm a good man. I have a good heart. You see how ass backwards? Do you hear the absurdity of that? They're simultaneously plotting against me. They're simultaneously, do you hear me, collective? Simultaneously trying to stop what's mine. Simultaneously trying to keep the dark secret a dark secret. Simultaneously doing dark magic and rituals and calling, summoning deities that's going to visit them, and everybody gonna be mad at me, but that's too bad, because they shouldn't have been conjuring. All those bloodlines that are involved with it. I know people right now, from kinfolk to strangers, that are plotting. Each one of them are going to get what they got coming. But here's my point. To the world, we're talking about titles and labels. We're talking about how are we evaluating and equating someone being looked upon as, and I'm throwing out all the verbiage, godly, God-fearing, loving, a good man, a good woman, a divine feminine, a divine masculine, whatever verbiage people are throwing out there to portray themselves to be something. Divine energy is not selfish, because they're not ruled by the lower chakras. That's my point. They're not overly attached. Overly attachment to the lower chakras makes us hoarders, misers, greedy and entitled. We don't only want what's ours, we want what belongs to them too. That's my point. That's how these people are. They don't only want what's theirs, they want what someone else's. That's the point. So then, are they a good woman? Are they a good man? I don't care if they do lead the Tuesday intercession. Are they aiding and abetting? Are they taking bribes? Then I'm sorry, then they are not qualified. Then they are not what they're betraying themselves to be. Somebody may say, well, nobody's perfect. Yeah, well, we already established that. But those are excuses that toxics like to use so that they can stay toxic. If folks aren't changing and transforming, then they're not what they're claiming to be. If their change and transformation is just to the extent of a list, they don't drink anymore. And that may be a lie, because some of them are professional at hiding that too. They don't drink anymore. They don't do drugs anymore. They don't, fuck all over the Americas anymore. They don't party anymore. They don't, they go to church every Sunday. They go to a Reiki session every week. If that's the extent of their transformation, yet the core of who they are and how they show up in the world and how they conduct and what is driving them and their motivations and their intention and their secret lives in terms of how they are acting and treating other lives, especially lives that are different than them and those that they don't like or those that they feel entitled to have what belongs to the other person, what's their behavior? Because if it ain't changed, then they are not what they say they are. They can fall out, they can run around the church 3 times, they can speak in tongues, they can shout, they can wave the sage bundle, they can do whatever the fuck. They are no different than what they've been. If they're still going around beating up people or getting people to beat up people, then they might as well just keep their lips shut. If they're trying to cover up the fact that somebody did that, then they might as well keep their lips shut as well. If they're trying to cover up crimes that they were participating in willfully and intentionally, then they haven't reformed, because reform is going to push them to do what? See, I'm making the points that most folks don't want to look at. They're not reformed if they're not reformed. Their reformation is very surface. Reform is going to be driving their ass. I promise you. Reform is going to drive you because you're ascending into your higher heart. The heart activation kicks in. It's going to drive you. It's going to drive you like, look, this is wrong on every level. You flip this shit, bitch. And if you continue on this path, you's a fucked up motherfucker, and you might as well stop trying to act like you're anything different. That's reform. This is when someone is in true reform energy. Your heart gets kicked in. You start to see things for what they are and what they were. You start to see your conduct and your role. You start to have true empathy versus learned fake empathy. That learned fake empathy doesn't move a person to become any different. It's just an act and a show to look like someone empathetic. Because true empathy is not saying, I love you. True empathy is actioning what love would dictate. It ain't love energy when people are simultaneously plotting collective. It ain't love energy when people are just trying to come at you so they can try to attempt to discover what you know or what you don't know. Or when they're trying to attempt to keep you tied in a cycle to them, or just coming around to soothe their guilty conscience. I currently have kinfolks and strangers alike doing shit that they're going to wish they didn't do. They're not going to leave this lifetime without suffering full penalty. In this life and in the afterlife. The deities that some of these people, the entities and the deities that some of these people are summoning are coming for them. These type of people, collective, miss the point of why they were here on earth. They refuse their healing. Your ascension and healing triggers the shadow about them that they don't want to face. And so they blame you. I'm recording, son. I'm almost done. I'm almost done. Give me a second. Okay, here I come to help you out. Here I come. So this is why when we ascend and start waking up, this is when we really see a lot. This is when these people get in the background and go hard. They go hard. This is why there's so much death magic. This is why they hire hitmen. This is why they attempt to, on a global massive scale, smear campaign you, because they're hoping that they can convince people to not believe you. But let me tell you something. Before they die, every last one of them will be seen for what they are. They will receive what they deserve. They were supposed to be here healing and transforming. These people don't want to do that. They like the darkness. They like the illusion. They like the veneer. They like the disillusioned state that they've created, the entitlement and the overinflated sense of self and grandiose. They like pretending to be good. These people were supposed to be here healing, And instead, all they know how to do and all they keep doing is stealing.